Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. I'm back in the East Dulwich Tavern with the two hottest European pundits around, Henry Hill and Michael McCubbin. How are we doing, lads? McCubbs, you well?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. It's a nice day and the Champions League is coming back.
It is.
So yeah, I'm good.
It's incredibly exciting when it comes back, actually. So much has changed since the group stages were done and dusted. Henry, you must be excited about it returning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the rate of games in the league, it's so nice to sort of jump back in and see this. I've actually got two little quick quiz questions.
You've also had a haircut
I have.
for it as well.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
When Doogie said the hottest two pundits, I wasn't messing around. Yeah. I've got two little quiz questions for you because I was writing about Ajax this week. Today in fact. Who is Ajax's new manager? Do either of you know?
It's Johnny Heitinger.
Johnny Heitinger. Yes.
But I think it's a caretaker basis.
Until the end of the season. Second question. Which former Dutch Premier League player
this is going to be good.
is he the brother-in-law to now?
Former Dutch.
Well,
Sorry,
no,
they're still Dutch, but former
they're
Premier League
still
player, or
Dutch.
are they still playing in the league?
They're not playing in the league anymore. Quite like a cult player, I would say. No.
Is it Robin van Persie?
It's not.
Oh.
It's Bodewin Zenden.
Really?
Yeah.
Sunderland hero.
Yeah,
Love Bolo
absolutely.
Zenden.
So, yeah, I love that. I was like, God, Johnny Heitinger. He doesn't even have a great record for the young Ajax team, which is what he's been promoted from. But yeah, managers to the end of the season, 2 wins from 2. Look who's laughing.
Not bad.
I absolutely
Not bad
love
at all.
that. Great quiz there from Henry at the start of the show. What a great way to start the show. Also, exciting news, we've all got podcast mics now, so we should be sounding good and consistent throughout the stream. There will be our usual police siren at some stage, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Cool. So as I say, what we're doing on this show is we'll talk about the Champions League. We're actually predicting the entirety of the Champions League, and we'll get into explaining how that is possible in due course. It involves a draw simulator, but we can definitely talk about the games that are coming up in the next couple of weeks in the last 16. The first of which we want to talk about, it's the big one. It's the one everyone can't wait for. It's on Tuesday. It's PSG versus Bayern Munich. McCubbs, who do you think is going to win this one?
It's really tough to call. It's really, really tough to call. I think PSG are in some ways a safer bet just because they've been a more consistent outfit throughout the season. I know they weren't great in the groups, were they? They drew both games against Benfica. I don't think they actually kept a clean sheet throughout the group stage. But, you know, Messi was on fire, wasn't he? Mbappe scoring for fun. I know he's out until February, so he won't be back until the second leg of this tie, which will be away, which will be the tougher game, I think. But I guess their league form, it hasn't been amazing either recently, but at the same time, they have pulled away now in that title race. They don't have to focus on that quite as much for the time being. So yeah, I would probably edge towards PSG personally. I just think there's, I don't know, I just think there's more weaknesses in that, more obvious weaknesses in that Bayern Munich side still. Again, I know they've recovered a little bit in the last 2 weeks, but they're still only 1 point clear in the Bundesliga. Their defence still worries me in a way that PSG is actually kind of used to more. So yeah, I would probably pump for PSG personally.
Okay, I mean, Henry, if you were going to make a case for Bayern Munich, do you think João Cancelo and his recent form at Bayern, would that enter the equation of why they could get the better of this tie?
Yes, absolutely. But to be honest, for me, it's more the players that PSG don't have in this tie more than the players necessarily that Bayern Munich do. I just think that for the first leg, which they've got at home, to miss Neymar and Mbappe is obviously going to be injured too. That really does sort of take a hammer to their forward line, as it were. And suddenly you think someone like Ziyech would have been quite useful going into a game like this. They're going to have to adjust the style. I imagine Ekitike will come in and they'll probably block up the midfield and try and make it quite a tight game, because that's where they've got lots of bodies, isn't it? We've seen Renato Sanchez playing well recently. Actually, I think Fabian Ruiz has been playing a lot of good football too. So they've got bodies they can throw in there. So my worry is that by the time they go to the Allianz Arena, they may need to get a big result. And I think with that, the home crowd behind them, this is a big game for Bayern. Let's have it right too.
Big game for Nagelsmann.
Yeah. I know everyone always bangs on about how PSG's season boils down to sort of these games in the Champions League. Bayern have won the Bundesliga 10 years in a row. You know, this is winning the Champions League is equally a big deal for them too. So yeah, this is a massive game. For me personally, I think Bayern Munich are going to have too much over the 2 legs, and yeah, like you said, reinforced with Cancelo in the in the winter, which is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both sides do have massive injury issues. Mazraoui will miss both legs. Mane, I think, is a doubt for the first leg. I think he'll be pretty unfit if he is back in time. Neuer's out for the entire season. Luca Hernandez is out as well. So those are some big absences. I think Upamecano's even missing the first leg. But I just think so much of PSG's attack does rest on the creativity and the finishing and the just world-class ability of Neymar and Mbappe, who have both been frighteningly good this season again, and Messi's been so much more improved, that I think if Bayern can get ahead in that first leg, even though there's no away goals, of course, which we have to remember in all these, I just think they're going to have enough over the two legs. So I'm actually angling towards Bayern Munich as well. Guys, we do have to come to a conclusion on this. McCubs, are you happy for us to go with Bayern Munich?
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
He's not happy.
I'm not happy, but yeah, okay.
We have to agree for the purpose of this game. Guys, let us know who you think and why is going to win that tie between PSG and Bayern in the comments down below. Let's move on to AC Milan versus Spurs. Two sides in contrasting form at the moment. Henry, we talked about this a lot on Continental Club Extra, which you should go and check out from Tuesday. But Milan, it's been a disaster of a title defence so far.
Yeah, absolutely has. Looked devoid of confidence, just lacking fit bodies in the midfield for Pioli to play a team that I think he wants. As you said, go check out Continental Club Extra. We touched on the fact that the goalkeeping situation hasn't been great. They're missing Tomori. That's been a huge loss. A centre half. Suddenly, Kalulu doesn't look quite as good next to Kier. And yeah, just playing people like Messias in the midfield, which are just simply not good enough for that role. I think this is Spurs. Spurs is for the taking. It really is. Great win against City. I think they were good value for it, in all honesty. And they sort of burn hot and cold, don't they, Spurs, at the moment? Obviously, Lloris's out. Michael Vorm coming in. What a blast from the past.
Big Michel.
But
he's not actually their backup keeper, so I was joking.
Were you very sure?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been done by Michael McCubbin on the FD WhatsApp chat. Who is it then?
Fraser Forster.
Fraser Forster. You know what? A seasoned Champions League player. You know, the Green Wall, as he's known in Barcelona for his efforts there. So
Little Tony Watt.
Yeah. So Fraser Forster. I think he's a good keeper actually. So he's going to be there. But yes, I think Harry Kane as well, playing amazing football. Son showing a bit more form recently. I can't see anything but a Spurs victory.
Fair enough. I mean, McCubs, are you in agreement there?
Yeah.
Even with Conte's Champions League record, I dare to say.
Yeah, but I think...
Not great in the UCL.
He's not great. I mean, has he ever made it to a quarter-final?
I don't believe so.
No, he hasn't. So,
yes, I think he has once. I think they beat Celtic once in the last 16 at Juve, but other than that, not really.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is his time to do it, or at least his time to do it for first time in however long. I just think with Bentancur back for Spurs, suddenly that midfield looks so good, and without Benacer there, even if they were to, I know we talked about how disappointing it was that Pioli played that 3 and that kind of 5 in midfield against Inter. I think even if he were to get Brahim Diaz back in that number 10 role, or even take a chance on Adli or whoever, I still just think Bentancur and Højbjerg just can sort them out. And if you can cut off that supply line, if Emerson Royale, say, can deal with Leao okay, or you can double up on Leao, then suddenly there's just nothing going into Giroud, assuming he would be starting there. So yeah, I think this is Spurs. I think all you need is Harry Kane or Heung-min Son or Kulusevski to have one big game, and I think it's theirs.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Milan will be pleased to get to the knockouts, but they've entered the knockouts in just the worst possible form, really. They're on their worst run, really, since lockdown, when they've been pretty excellent under Pioli up until now, but just having a really tough time with it. Injuries to key players losing form, just not pretty at the moment in the red side of Milan whatsoever. But yeah, they're in the Champions League knockouts for the first time since 2013-14, and we think they'll be going home. Well, they'll play the first game at home, obviously, but after that, they'll just be staying at home. There'll be no more travels this season. Right, so we've got Spurs so far and Bayern going through. Let's move on to Dortmund versus Chelsea. Now, I smell a little bit of a potential shock here. Look, Chelsea, we don't know their result this weekend. They've got West Ham. Big game, another London derby. Didn't look great against Fulham by any means. Didn't create a lot in that game. Problems with that striking department, as there have been all season. Spent £600 million this year, pretty much, but still no permanent, fully fit and fully on form number 9, let's say, if Kai Havertz isn't a natural 9. And I think there's issues there. I think there's serious issues there. And I think there's going to be issues in the coming years as well, keeping everyone happy in that squad. You know, players that were brought in the summer have already been replaced in the January window. Sterling, Koulibaly, are they going to be starters now? And how are they going to react to that, given the fact they were promised so much in the summer under this current ownership scheme? So I think there's huge problems there. Having said that, Dortmund haven't had a great Champions League record recently at all. I mean, McCubs, are you angling towards a shock here as well?
What, with Dortmund? Yeah, slightly. I think so. It's really tough, this one. I think Chelsea are going to have to rely on Mudryk getting over that cold and coming in and absolutely tearing Schlotterbeck apart.
Can be done as well.
I think it can be done. It definitely can be done.
Schlotterbeck a little bit shaky this season.
Yeah. But having said that, Dortmund are in pretty good form at the moment. You know, they're only 3 points behind Bayern now in the Bundesliga. You know, the title race is really on there. And they do have momentum. You know, they demolished a Freiburg side who have been pretty impressive this season, 5-1 on the weekend. I know Freiburg were down to 10 men for a lot of that game, but you know, they didn't show any mercy. You know, Haller got his first Dortmund goal. How good was that? You were saying off camera as well, Doogie, on World Cancer Day as well.
Very suited.
So yeah, I think that the feeling around Dortmund is really good right now. You know, Julian Brandt's in good form as well. We saw Adeyemi score his first goal at the Westfalenstadion as well. So
Gio Reyna's popped up some
and
nice
Gio
goals.
Reyna, yeah. Like, I mean, I know he's not starting that much, but yeah, it almost seemed like a bit of a forgotten man in terms of just being out of the side with injury for so long. But he's still so young, and you kind of forget, like in that 1920 season, just how amazing he looked at 17. And he definitely hasn't lost his finishing ability. That much is true.
Dropping him at your peril, though. Greg Barhalter found that out. And his dad coming in and getting involved as well is a shock.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Edin Terzic has managed him a little bit better in that sense, because he seems to be happy to come off the bench. But yeah, I think it's like 3 goals in his last 4 appearances.
Something like that.
Anyway, so Dortmund have a lot of, weapons going forward. Their defence remains a bit of an issue. So yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because Chelsea's defence has been pretty good. That's the thing. They haven't been great, but Chelsea's defence has been quite good since Badia Shields come in. I'll still go for Dortmund. I think I'll still go for Dortmund.
Join the crazy.
I think that first leg. Is going to be absolutely mad. But I think if Chelsea can hold out for a draw in Dortmund, then I think it will be advantage to them.
Yeah, absolutely bear pet atmosphere, I expect. Henry, you on agreement with that? Can you get on board with the Dortmund shout?
It would be pretty classic of Chelsea in a year where they're playing pretty bad in the league, sort of do something in the Champions League. The way that sort of Harry Redknapp got done over when he got Tottenham into 4th, and then I'll never forget that. But yeah, I still think that you're right though. I was writing about Thiago Silva earlier. He's still having a great season. Badia Shields looked like a really smart pickup in defence, and that does make a difference. But yes, Dortmund just have too many players, I think, playing well. Bellingham looks amazing in the Champions League. I think they looked pretty good against City.
They did.
Matches. So yeah, why not? Why not go for an upset and back Borussia Dortmund?
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't say it with any confidence. I think both Liverpool and Chelsea, you don't want to write them off just because they're playing badly in the league. Like, this is pretty much where their season. Well, they'll be desperate to get into the top 4 as well. But this competition will mean so much for them because it's a guarantee of getting into it next year. I mean, we'd be surprised if Liverpool and Chelsea won it, but stranger things have happened. We're all going for Dortmund to go through, though. Right, let's move on to Liverpool versus Real Madrid. Having said that, Henry, this feels like Real Madrid's time to lose very, very much.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, Liverpool have just been hemorrhaging goals at a rate we've not really seen.
To Wolves.
Yeah. In the Klopp era. Trent's only got 1 goal, 1 assist this season. I think it may be him and Andy Robertson have almost played too much football in the last few years. It's just been the same thing over and over again. I think teams are beginning to suss out this Liverpool side a little bit. There is their high energy style is prone to a bit of a burnout, and they haven't actually put in many new players as like first team players in the squad. I think you can only recount 4 or 5, and they've had really difficult injuries this season, so it's had to rely on the same bodies that have been sort of loyally playing to Klopp's system for a while, but it is causing a bit of wear and tear on that side, and we're seeing that. And I think this is probably a terrible time to play Real Madrid. I appreciate they're not blowing teams away in La Liga by any means at the moment, but
they're rubbish, to be honest.
Yeah, but they still have players in Vinicius, etc., that in a flash can change a game. And we haven't really seen that from Salah this season, have we? Vinicius still is capable of doing that. Rodrigo can pop up moments of magic. Benzema getting back to sort of full fitness, really. So, yeah, I do think this is Real Madrid's to lose. I think across the two legs, I think going to the Bernabeu on the second leg is going to be too much for this Liverpool side. I just think the Champions League, they seem to find a way, Real Madrid.
They're a different animal, aren't they?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go for them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean that run last year, beating Chelsea, Man City, PSG, not in that order, and then Liverpool. Heroic, legendary stuff from Real Madrid. There's players in there that just turn into, as I say, different animals in this competition. Having said that, though, McCubs, if you're a Liverpool fan watching this, there are reasons to be a little bit hopeful. I mean, as you say, they've not been great in the league recently. Their Champions League group stage wasn't faultless either.
No, I mean, they're 8 points behind Barca now in the title race. And I can't remember the last time I saw them play anywhere near their best. They have had injuries, of course, but I mean, Benzema's out for this game. Courtois out for this game. Mendy's still out. I assume Alaba is back for this, but so that's a big plus for them. But equally, even with Alaba in that defence, they looked pretty vulnerable against Villarreal at the start of January. So yeah, this it feels like this Ancelotti's kind of run with Real. This kind of I think there was a good 10-month period where it just felt like they were almost unbeatable in the league and in the Champions League, even if they didn't play so well. And I feel like they've lost a bit of that touch. They've lost that ability to just turn a game around in 10 minutes. I think this is Madrid's side doesn't quite have that magic that it did last year, and maybe that's because Benzema's been in and out of the side, and he was such a catalyst for a lot of those moments. Modric just can't do it single-handedly, and I mean Vinicius. I think Vinicius remains their best player, but so I think this will be tight, and that first game at Anfield will be huge. Both defences are pretty bad.
Henry Hill's a big believer in Anfield.
Of course he is. Yeah, both. Thing is, I think that what will be fun with this game, hopefully, is that both teams will kind of go into it with nothing to lose. I think both defences are terrible at the moment, especially Liverpool's. Like their pressing as well. Has been all over the shop, and Klopp said so himself. He said that they're just not pressing intensely enough, and it's leaving players like Matip. There's the reason why so many errors have been made in defence is because the centre backs have never had to face this much pressure before. So in that sense, I think both teams can be got at. I think it's gonna be really tight. Oh, it's really tough. It's really tough.
Real Madrid. Come on.
I think just on recent form, I just think because Madrid have beaten Liverpool so many times in this competition in the last few years, I think I'm just going to go for them.
I remember the FA Cup tie the other day. I was with a group of friends
against Wolves,
against Brighton.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Unanimously before it happened, we all said, Brighton will probably win this. Yeah. I can't remember the last time that we felt that way about a big team up against. Okay, Brighton are playing great. No, they are playing great, but it was. No, if I was to put money on, I'd probably say it wasn't even sort of.
It wasn't a debate.
No, it was Brighton probably going to win this, and that I think that's sort of a damning reflection of this Liverpool right now.
Absolutely, that's what I feel about Real Madrid. Real Madrid are probably going to win this, but let's see. Right, so we've got Bayern, Spurs, Dortmund, and Real Madrid going through so far. Right, let's move on to Eintracht Frankfurt versus Napoli. Now, I think people would look at the tables all around Europe and think this is absolutely sewn up. But I would write off Eintracht Frankfurt at your peril. They don't have a lot of experience playing in the European Cup. I was looking it up earlier, and their records were really difficult to decipher. But I think it's their first year playing in the Champions League since about 1960, when they lost the Champions League final. I think they got thrashed by Real Madrid at the end of their five-peat. Back in the 50s, or 60s in this case. But last year, obviously, won the Europa League. They've got experience in two-leg ties. They beat Betis, Barcelona, West Ham, and Rangers on penalties, with Aaron Ramsey, of course, missing that decisive one. They finished second in their Champions League group. Then they were in that mental group with Spurs and Marseille, where I think everyone was winning it on the final day. And they're unbeaten in their last 7 Bundesliga games. They've got Randall Colomwani, who's just going from strength to strength. Jesper Lindstrom's having an excellent season. And this is a side that we thought, after the departure of Filip Kostic in the summer, who'd been so much their creative spark over the last few years with his delivery from wide, playing as a left wing back or on the left wing, that would really suffer this season, but it just hasn't materialised. I think Oliver Glasner has actually been one of the outstanding managers in Europe so far this season. So write them off at your peril. But having said that, Henry, Napoli just roll on.
Yeah, they do. They do. You're so right. You've basically covered everything I was thinking about. They look better than last season, Eintracht, across the board.
Significantly better in the
Kamada
league.
in that front three as well. It's a tale of two strikers, this game. Kolo Muani, 9 goals, 10 assists this season in the Bundesliga is excellent. Osimhen, though, on 17 goals in 21 games. So, this is going to be a really exciting tie, I think, across the two legs. If you had to sit down and watch one, this is definitely one to go for. I still think Napoli are going to do it just because they're so far ahead in the league. They can almost focus on the Champions League a little bit. They can put some resources into it. It's not as if, because the next leg's in March, so it's not as if the games are coming thick and fast. They can really go after this competition. It's remarkable how well they're playing. That weird loss to Cremonese on penalties in the Coppa Italia is the only sort of mild blemish recently. But I just think at the moment, Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, their link up is too much for most teams to handle, let alone the Eintracht defence, albeit how it is a good defence. But yeah, I'm going to go for Napoli. But as you said, Eintracht could pinch something here, or at least make it tight. I think it could be a real fun game.
Nice. McCubs, you going Napoli as well?
I'm actually tempted to go for an upset here. I know.
They don't have a lot of Champions League experience either.
I know you'll probably say Napoli and they'll go for anyway, but I would. Yeah, there's something about this Frankfurt side that Europa League run was great. Their fans are just ridiculous, and I know the Napoli fans will be super up for it as well. I think in terms of atmosphere at stadiums, this might be the best tie of the whole last 16, to be honest. So if you're after
you're
that,
not feeling Leipzig versus Man City for that?
No,
Electric.
Battle of the multi-club groups. I think. Yeah, I'll go for Frankfurt on this one, even though I know you'll put Napoli through. I just want to put it out there.
Fair enough. McCubs is putting it on record. He's going for Eintracht Frankfurt, but me and Henry, we're both going Napoli. Napoli are going through. It'd be a great story as well. We shouldn't write off what that would mean because they've been rubbish in Europe over the last few years. Right, let's move on. Leipzig versus Man City. We've already talked about it. We'll do these final few games a little bit quicker. Henry, after the week they've had, Man City, could this be a potential start of a massive banana skin?
This is another banana skin game. This really is. I mean, Leipzig looked amazing under Marco Rosa, and fair enough, because I did not think that was going to happen at all after what he oversaw at Borussia Dortmund, although it was a bit tougher than perhaps expected. But all this nonsense about Haaland, whether or not he's the right fit, the right club, he's still scoring goals for fun. Leipzig know all about him, don't they? So he'll feel back at home in Germany for the first leg anyway, going after them. So yeah, I know. I once again, I think this could be a moment of solace for City in the league, in Europe. Sorry, especially if it looks like they're going to get a points deduction or something's going to happen to them in the Premier League. This is really what they want to win. So I'm still going to back Manchester City, but this is going to be real. This is going to be really fun. This is going to be a really fun game.
I like it. McCubs?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them concede 1 or 2 in Germany at least. But yeah, I mean, who knows? This might be their last chance for a Champions League for a while. So yeah, I'll go for Man City. You know, when do we see a Pep Man City side go out in the last 16? You know, Leipzig, yeah, they have improved, but you know, there's levels, isn't there? And I think Man City are still far, far ahead of them, even if their current form isn't that great. They've still got great depth on the bench. KDB, I'm sure, will return for this game. And yeah, Haaland, his record is still brilliant. So yeah, like what Henry said, Man City for sure.
It was crazy. I was looking at a graphic the other day of where Haaland is against Messi, Mbappe, Ronaldo at the same age in terms of goal scoring. And he's way ahead of Ronaldo, obviously, who was a winger at that stage. But so far ahead that it looks like he will break the all-time record for goals if he stays fit. Like, it's just remarkable. Having said that, I'm really quite upset with the Man City news this week, just because I've so enjoyed watching them play over the last 5-6 years. And obviously there's been rumblings and they're going to appeal it, etc. It's not done and dusted yet. But if they are found guilty of it, it kind of tarnishes what was probably the best football I've ever watched in the Premier League, in that 17-18 and 18-19 seasons. I thought they were remarkable. So we wait for, I mean, it will take years to decide this case, won't it? So, you know, we'll probably be in our mid-30s by the time the news comes out. But
Speak for yourself.
But let's see. Okay, we're all going for Man City for that one. Club Brugge versus Benfica. Henry, your beloved Bruges, under Scotty P, your former manager at Fulham as well, it's not gone great for him so far.
Brugge, yes. No, played 6, 1-1, drawn 4, lost 1. I was having a look. It's not as if they were up against sort of the creme de la creme of Belgian football this season. The way that the Belgian league works, though, even though they're 4th, and they can still win the whole thing. 19 points behind leaders Genk. Genk, who are runaway leaders, like USG kind of were last season. They still hope they go into the championship rounds, and
it means nothing. Yeah.
That's where Club Brugge come to life. Maybe. So he's Scott Parker can bide his time. He might not even reach the end of it, but
a little bit like you in the relegation, like you're sitting at the bottom of Stat Wars. You're just waiting for Zach.
He's pulling the Scott Parker.
Crouching Tiger, exactly. So got some fun players. Ferran Juckler, 10 goals, 6 assists. Don't think he'll be around for much longer. Skov Olsen, who we've talked about a few times on the show over the years. I think he's a good player. He's 8 goals, 4 assists. But no, Benfica are going to win this one.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Benfica just marched on because they had that disappointing result. I think it was against Brugge on Boxing Day when that Enzo Fernandez news had just broken. But they got back to winning ways in the league. And they're marching on.
Yeah, I mean, they've still only lost 1 of 35 games this season. They were amazing in the group stage, weren't they? Yeah, I mean, they in some ways have been the story of the Champions League this season. And yes, Enzo is gone. Huge loss. But, Florentino Luis has been great this season as well. Has really come of age, I think. So let's just hope that he can keep up the performances without such a great midfielder alongside him. But aside from him, Antonio Silva has been really impressive at centre back. I think he's still only 18. Amazing player. Gonzalo Ramos, of course, has had a great year as well. So yeah, I think they'll have too much for Brugge. Yeah, I'll go Benfica as well.
Fair enough. Roger Schmidt's army march on. Benfica are through in that one. Let's talk Inter Milan versus Porto at the moment. Similar to Milan, Inter Milan haven't been in the Champions League knockouts for donkey's years. 11 years to be precise. 3 consecutive group stage exits prior to this, and then they had those really weird years where they're under, Rafa Benitez and Frank de Boer, etc., and they just weren't qualifying for the Champions League. But they finished 3 points ahead of Barcelona in that group of death. They played well. They rode their luck at times against Barcelona in those 2 games. But yeah, now they're second in Serie A. They're 13 points behind Napoli. They're having an okay season. It's not a disaster, but it's not been what people were expecting at the start of the season anyway, at least in terms of their league form. But they've won 6 of their last 8 in the league, and they've had some big victories in that time. Milan at the weekend. They beat Napoli, of course, their only defeat in the league this season. They also beat Atalanta, who are a much improved force this season as well. So I think they'll have too much for Porto. McCubs, do you see any green shoots for Porto?
Yeah, no, not really. I think this could be tight. Like Porto again,
a low-scoring one maybe.
Maybe potentially a low-scoring one. Decided, I think, maybe by Lautaro, because I think he's just on fire at the moment. His header against Milan was just superb. I can see Lautaro scoring a brace in that kind of deciding it. I'm gonna go Inter.
Okay, there we have it. Henry, anything to add on that?
No, I think Porto are going to win. You knew this beforehand. I think Porto are going to win this game.
This is a bit like McCubs with Eintracht Frankfurt.
No, I genuinely do. I mean, Inter have been shaky moments. It depends what Inter team turn up, because they do fluctuate. They were very good against Barcelona in the Champions League. I need to remember that. But yeah, they've scored 23 and conceded 4 in their last 9 games. Porto. They've got a good coach, Conceição. They've got a great team. I like Taremi up front. I think they're going to cause Inter some serious problems. And the second leg is in Portugal. So I really don't think this is as sewn up as people think. Porto have experience in the Champions League knockouts, quarterfinals in 2020.
Knocked out Juve.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Oliveira, long range goal, great memories. But so I know we've
got to be in an agreement.
Got to put through Inter, but I'm back in Porto.
Fair enough. I mean, Inter have been better in the Champions League. I remember last year they gave Liverpool a really good game. Was that the last 16? I thought they were excellent in that tie. Anyway, guys, to conclude, we've put through Bayern Munich, Spurs, Dortmund over Chelsea, Real Madrid, Napoli, Man City, Benfica and Inter Milan. George, our excellent editor, very talented guy, shout out George, he is probably making a bracket down below so you can see everyone who's gone through to the quarterfinals. Let me load up the simulator on my phone. Just after the break, we'll reveal who our quarterfinals are.
Ooh.
Okay guys, I've loaded up the simulator on my phone and I can reveal that our first team out of it is Napoli. Okay, so we've got Napoli. Who do Napoli play? They play Bayern Munich.
No.
Big time.
That's huge.
Next
That's
one. Spurs.
Okay.
Okay, you've got to remember all this. Spurs versus Dortmund.
Oof. Wow.
Okay, nice.
One of them in the semis. Wow. Okay.
Inter Milan is the next one versus Benfica. Ooh, shock there.
So Inter or Benfica in the semis
And then obviously
too.
that leaves Man City and Real Madrid as the final quarter-final. That is huge. Okay. I mean, Henry, we're not going to talk about them in so much detail, but Napoli versus Bayern Munich. Who have you got going through
Napoli.
there? You've got Napoli.
Oh, I think Bayern.
I think Bayern as well.
That's cowardice. Cowardice.
Just a lack of Champions League experience. Bayern, absolute behemoth. Are you upset with that?
I am. I don't. I think the lack of experience. I think it's the emotion, the stadiums, the passion, the will.
Villarreal
the will
did
to
make the
win.
semis last
Yeah,
year.
exactly.
Yeah, they beat Bayern as well. You know what? Actually, I'm going to switch. I'll go Napoli.
Yes!
I'll go Napoli. Nagelsmann will once again get found out.
Okay. Fine, I have to cede on that. But I do think Bayern would beat Napoli. Right, so Napoli are into the semi-finals. The next one we read out was Spurs versus Dortmund. McCubs. Quickly.
We've got to put one of them in the semis.
The least deserving.
You know what? Let's put Spurs through. I think Conte might. I think
Wow.
Conte's last season with Spurs. I think he might do something. You know?
Weirdly,
Okay.
I agree in an odd way.
Okay, we're having Dortmund knock out Chelsea but lose to Spurs.
So does this mean?
That's almost very Spursy.
Does this mean that those first two? Does that mean that it will be Napoli versus
Yeah, so it'll
Spurs
be
in the
Napoli
semis?
versus Spurs in the semis.
What have we
Okay,
done?
the
What have
other
we done?
quarterfinals were, what did we have? Inter Milan versus Benfica. Quickly on that, Henry.
I think Benfica. I really do. I thought Porto. They lost just Benfica.
People are going to think we've absolutely lost our minds, but
Yeah,
I tend to
it's-
agree, actually. I think Benfica
Really?
could beat Inter.
I would probably go for Inter personally. I know it's your two votes. So I think it would be. I feel like Benfica might drop off towards the end of the season. I feel like Inter are growing in strength. So I think Inter would. But if you two want to say Benfica, go for it. I think.
Are we
Inter.
going a little too crazy? I'm going Benfica. Benfica beat
Yeah.
Inter Milan. And the final one, the glamour tie of the quarters, was Man City versus Real Madrid. I mean, on current form, it's quite difficult to call, but I think if Real Madrid's injury issues continue, I think Man City's forward line could cause them a lot of issues. But then at the same time, they're not playing that well at the moment. They're not retaining the ball very well. They're not
This
creating enough chances.
will be a while in the future.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Trusting Pep to turn the situation around. I think by then he'll have full squad, full idea of who his best players are. I'm gonna go City.
I think this is actually the easiest one to call. I think City.
Wow. Okay. We'll put through. I've never heard so much conviction. City are through. So we've got Napoli versus Spurs in the semi.
Ridiculous.
Napoli are winning that.
Come
one.
on.
That's the only.
For the glory of football, for the goodness.
yeah, Napoli
We
are.
can't
Putting
have
Napoli into the
Spurs
final.
playing
Napoli's going to
Spurs
the final.
football.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
let's do
Napoli are through.
I don't even think they're going to get to the quarterfinals. I think Frankfurt are going to beat them, and yet they're in the final. But yeah, we'll do it.
Remarkable stuff. Okay, Benfica versus Man City.
This is where I fall on my sword. City are winning.
Yeah, I think at that stage Benfica might just be a little knackered. They have played 35 games already, as we said earlier. I think Man City win that. So the final of our simulated game, which these ties may never exist, is Napoli versus Man City.
Just
that'd
imagine
be
if
a
this
great
is
final.
played out as a.
That is ultimately good versus evil this season as well, especially with the recent news.
Yeah.
I'm going Man City.
Evil,
though.
evil,
I'm going
will,
Man City.
evil will prevail.
You've got to back Darth
Unfortunately-
Vader in this.
God, it's just so boring, isn't it? City get predicted to win the Champions League every single year, and they always let.
And
the
their current
predictors
form
down.
as well, it's nuts. They've got to get through Leipzig first. But
Yeah. I think City got too much.
I'm gonna go Napoli. So
Yeah.
keep for the dream.
Keep believing. That is it, guys. That is our simulated Champions League. Of course, the quarterfinals, we don't know what the actual draw will be, but we put it through a simulator. That's what we got out. The final ended up being Napoli, Man City, and Man City won their first ever Champions League. Oh, I feel a bit ill after that. Right, let's move on to big match predictions. So, big match predictions last week. We actually did quite well. So, Wolfsburg versus Bayern. I went 2-1 to Bayern. Henry went for a 1-1 draw. My Cubs went 3-2 to Bayern. So close. It was 4-2 to Bayern. They actually didn't play that well in that game, despite what the scoreline suggests. So, that's 1 point to my Cubs and myself. The Milan derby. Henry went 3-0. My Cubs went 2-0. I went 1-1. Idiot. It finished 1-0. So, 1 point to you both. And Barca versus Sevilla, my Cubs went 5-1. Henry went 4-0. I went 3-0, which was a perfect score. So 1 point to these two, 3 points to me. Lovely stuff. Scores are as follows on screen now. I'm on 42. Henry's on 30. My Cubs is on 23. Right, our first big match predictions. And we're going to do these maybe a little bit quicker than normal because we have been doing a lot of predictions in this show already. Monaco versus PSG, Saturday 4 p.m. First versus fourth in Liga. 10 points currently between them. Henry, do you give Les Monégasques any hope?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're great forwards in Ben Yedder. We've said it a million times. I don't know how good he is, consistent forward. And Mbolo looks great.
Brilliant this season, yeah.
Mbolo 5 in his last 5, 12 overall. Real coming of age season for him, I think. And yeah, good to see. So yeah, and also I think their defence is still pretty strong. Disasi, now the captain, I was seeing last week. Guy next to him, I think it's Chao Enrique.
Marapan, I think.
Yeah, Marapan.
Marapan. Forgive me.
He's
they've got a solid defence too. So yeah, I don't think this is. I might just go for a laugh from Monaco win. I might go 2-1. 2-1.
Can't wait till Saturday 6 p.m. when you're like, why did I go for that laugh? He's laughing all the way on Saturday 6 p.m. No, fair enough. So you went 2-1, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, my Cubs.
I actually think.
Are you going for a Monaco win as well?
I'm not going for a Monaco win, but I think it might be a draw. So Diggs, you can just, once again after hearing our results, you can just play the averages, playing into your hands. But no, I do think Monaco have been impressive recently. I think Minamino has looked pretty good as well. Really ran the game against Clermont Foot the other day. I know PSG are levels above them, but yeah, I like them, and yeah, they do look pretty decent despite losing Badiashile. So yeah, I think it will be 1-1.
1-1. They have had a few draws recently, PSG as well. They've been dropping points a little bit more than they'd want to. I thought Hakimi had a great game at the weekend against Toulouse. Scored a stunning goal with his left foot, and also comes into midfield a lot now. He's not just a wing back. He's really fun to watch. But as McCubb says earlier, they're now 8 points clear of Marseille. Marseille do have a game in hand, and they are missing some of their crucial players. So the upset's not out of the question. Did you go 2-1 to Monaco?
Yes.
Whatever. I might go 1-0 Monaco.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right. RB Leipzig versus Union Berlin, Saturday 5:30 p.m. Fourth versus second. 3 points between them. I'll go first because I'm being accused of copying or playing the percentages, and that's riled me up. That's why I backed Monaco. I don't know why I did that. Right.
In your
Union
head.
Berlin
In your
are
head.
Bayern's closest challengers as it stands. They're currently 1 point behind them. They've won their last 4 games in a row after 2 defeats in the previous 3 before that. And they are a totally unique side. So get a load of these stats. So they rank 15th for shots per game, 16th for possession, 13th for pass accuracy, 17th for expected goals. It's basically like the version of Dyche's Everton that we're going to see in the future. And yet they're 8th by expected points, mainly based off the fact they are a very good defensive side. They play long ball. People struggle to deal with them. Or long ball's a bit harsh, direct at times. And their key player is probably Rani Khedira, who's the younger brother of Sami Khedira, who's been crucial in midfield. He leads the side for tackles and interceptions. He sort of sets the tone in terms of intensity. And he's been brilliant this season. And it's always nice when a younger brother who isn't as well known in football really starts to carve a career and a name for himself. But having said that, Leipzig are in great form. I can see this being not straightforward, but a 2-1 win for Leipzig. The Cubs, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I do slightly feel like this Union run has got to end at some point. Having said that, I don't know. I'm getting that Leicester feeling. I feel like the way that Union play. I know they don't have like a Riyad Mahrez, like a genuine world class talent, but there's just something about there's something about this Union story that reminds me of Leicester in 2016, or at least it's the closest thing I've seen to it since then in a top 5 league. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I just think Leipzig, that they're in great form. They've still got so many dangerous players up top. I think Szoboszlai has come into his own this season, hasn't he? At long last, it's great to see him finally living up to his potential on a consistent basis. Nkunku is out, so that's an advantage for Union. But you know what? No, I think this is going to be a hard-fought draw. I think there's so much to play for here, and Union have been great late in games as well. I'm going to go 2-2.
Love it. You guys are loving draws at the moment.
Yeah.
Henry, what do you reckon?
Yes. I'm going to go 2-0 to RB Leipzig.
Okay, straight
There
up.
you go. I like Yannick Harberer in midfield as well. I think he's a good player for Union. And Schrader Becker up front. There was talk that Everton wanted him. I'm glad that he didn't move. And they got Juranovic in at right back, which I think is a really good signing. From Celtic?
Yeah.
So
makes more sense than Barcelona for him. I think.
Yeah. Can you believe that move didn't pay off? But yes, good team, great fun, great story. But Leipzig are going to win.
Nice. Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to our final game then. Lazio versus Atalanta, Saturday, 7:45 p.m. Fourth versus fifth. They're only separated by goal difference. Both their sets of fans, I think, will be pretty happy with how this season has gone. Henry, how do you see this game going, though?
Yeah, this will be quite fun. This is a good game to tune into. Atalanta, I think, have looked great recently. They've been 5 unbeaten until losing to Sassuolo, which is a weird one. Sassuolo having a really tough season. But it needs to be remembered that Joachim Mailer got sent off, and Muriel as well. So they had 9 men by the end of it. Both big losses, really, to that Atalanta side. I mean, they're just great, aren't they? But I don't know. I kind of fancy Lazio. I think this is a really big season for Lazio. If they can get back into Champions League, get a bit of funding, maybe try and convince some of their big players to stay, Milinkovic, Savic, etc. They've got a lot going on. I love Zakanyi. We wrote about him as one of the bargains of the summer. Sort of like a €7 million pickup, I think it was, from Hellas Verona. Really good, really fun sort of winger, can cut inside. So yeah, I'm going to go for a Lazio victory here. But I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to go for 3-1.
3-1. There we have it. Goals galore. McCubs?
Yeah, I mean, Lazio do have the better form in recent seasons. They've gone unbeaten in the last 4 against Atalanta, and home advantage as well. Having said that, I don't know. I thought they were really poor against Verona. I think they were quite lucky to draw that game in the end, actually. And Atalanta, I think, I just think Atalanta are still a better attacking unit than Lazio. Lazio, like, Zakanyi's been great. Pedro, great. I still think maybe Pedro's their best player. But Atalanta just, I don't know, like, Lookman's on fire. I think that, yeah, I just think as a team, Atalanta are still better. I think they can deal with problems better still. So, yeah, I'm going to go for... Maybe it's a bit of an upset, actually, saying Atalanta, but I'll go for it. I'll go 2-1 Atalanta.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's been some debates in Lazio circles about whether Felipe Anderson actually brings more out of that attacking unit as the focal point than Ciro Immobile, which is crazy given what Ciro Immobile has achieved over the last few years with his ability. That sounds harsh. You know, he is a very good player, but maybe not at that top elite level. So that's quite an interesting one. And Lazio, I really want them to go deep in the Conference League, to be honest. I think we saw what it did to Roma at the back end of last season, having not won a trophy since, 2008. Lazio have won a trophy much more recently than that, but this would be a bigger standard of trophy and a real sort of sign of where they're going under Sarri, because I do think they play really entertaining football at times. But so do Atalanta. I think this could be an absolute thriller. I'm actually going to go 3-2 to Lazio, I think, which would be really good. And I'd maybe get a bonus point. So happy days. Guys, how do you see Lazio, Atalanta, RB Leipzig, Union Berlin, and Monaco versus PSG going? Also, what did you make of our Champions League predictor? Do your own predictions down below for the last 16 ties. Maybe don't go all the way to the final because it is imaginary after the last 16 phase. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much to George for making our graphic below. McCubs, what would you recommend they go watch now?
Go and check out, I don't know, yesterday's Scout report. I can't remember what we did it on. I don't know who wrote it. Was it you, Henry?
And Doogie, actually. Yeah.
And Doogie. Oh, wow. A joint effort.
What was it? Players you also can't live without.
Okay,
Yes.
nice. Oh, also, we put an explained out on the weekend about why Japan produce so much talent at the
videos.
moment. So yeah, go and show that some love because that had a bit of a slow start, but really enjoyed writing that. You know, so many great Japanese players, you know, performing so well in Europe at the moment. You know, Kamada and Matoma, the kind of cream of the crop. So yeah, go and check that out.
Nice. Henri?
Yeah, I was say Japanese video. Go give that some love.
Perfect. Thanks very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye.